nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers. It's a podcast about music where a group of friends hang out and share albums with each other. It's like a little book club for music. It's a fun time. It's a good time. I am your man at the point for today, Petey Rave. Here with me is my crew, my team, my squad. We've got David.
A drunk mind speaks a sober heart. Khalil Gibran.
We've got Drew.
You're running point, then I'll be the 4.
And then we've got once again here for this cycle, we've got Curly.
We're supposed to come up with quotes? I don't have a quote. Everyone else is bad. I'm good.
We're not
Mine wasn't a quote. Mine is a basketball reference.
Khalil Gibran did not say that.
Yeah, no. We're here to talk about music, of course. We're talking about an album, and the album for this week's discussion is provided by DJM David Majors. What do you got for us this week, Deej?
Petey Rave, Record Breakers, listeners and fans. I brought an album from one of my favorite musicians in the whole wide world, British guitarist John Mitchell. He is probably best known as the lead guitarist of the bands Arena and a personal favorite of mine, Frost. He's also the frontman of 2 other groups called Kino and It Bites. He is a guy who is probably best known in the music industry for his guitar playing, his engineering, and also his independent label. He does a lot of different things. He doesn't really stick to one thing. He does a lot of different things with different people. So yeah, that's kind of a thing that I appreciate a lot. And this is his most recent project entitled Lonely Robot. And this is the second album from 2018 entitled The Big Dream. This is you could call it a solo project of sorts, but it is an album where he has a full band and is the second album in what is supposed to be a trilogy telling the story of the astronaut from the first album and the lonely robot concept. It's sort of a loose concept, and this album we find the astronaut who has left the solar system, and now he has ended up on a planet of sorts where, if you see the album cover that Petey Rave displayed so eloquently, he wakes up in sort of a weird space with beings with animal heads. And here we are.
Yes, here we are. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, knowing Deej and seeing the name that was on the top of this record, I was like, oh, this is going to be like some concept-y stuff with like a lot of like really cool guitar playing and really smart composition. Besides that, I had really no expectations. I've never actually heard John Mitchell, I don't think. Maybe looking up some of the bands that are included in his producing work, have heard some of them, but him specifically I haven't, so I was sort of excited to see.
Yeah. Curly, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Oh, hi.
Hi, Curly!
As the least adept at reviewing albums and music and whatnot, I kind of mirror a lot of what Drew was saying. Like I had nothing going into this, first of all, but I listened to this right before I got to be on the show. But without knowing anything about the band or without anything knowing about the artist behind it, the opening, I'll just leave it with the opening because I had no expectations. But the opening was pretty much my introduction to what I was expecting to see. And the opening track hits pretty hard. Hits pretty good. And I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's go. You decide. Like, you pulled up at my house and you said, boop boop, let's go. Like, and I was like, I'm picking up what this man's putting down. Let's go. And that's pretty much my only introduction to these people. and I enjoy the fuck that was.
It's like get in, losers. We're going to space.
Yeah, I was like, like the fiddler and the fucking like I was like I'm following this man, the Pied Piper.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I didn't know quite what to expect, but I figure it was something like knowing Deej, it was going to be something intricate, something progressive, something really cool. So I was looking forward to kind of like diving into it. But yeah, let's talk about it musically. How would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes and elements that you would bring up?
In comparison to the first Lonely Robot album, Please Come Home, was really a John Mitchell solo album with lots of features from guest musicians, from his other projects, friends across the British rock scene, and all that stuff. So it was a bit more all over the place. The second album is a bit more concise. He has a band with a drummer and a keyboardist, and he plays and sings pretty much everything else. So it is a bit tighter than the first Lonely Robot album, and it's a bit more concise. There is a clear vision on this album of what he wants to convey in terms of musical atmosphere and message and just general vision of what Lonely Robot was supposed to be. So there are some guitars, but not too much guitars, which is kind of a trademark of John Mitchell in that he can prog out when he wants to, but he does not do it very often. He knows how to rein it in, and he let himself go a little bit on the first Lonely Robot album, but on this one he reins himself in a little bit, except in certain moments. And I think you hear his songwriting ability, you hear his guitar playing, his vocal ability, and I think you just get a good rock album in the modern day overall.
Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, sometimes with these albums that we do, I can get away with listening in my car or my cheap speakers, getting some work done and stuff like that. And sometimes you hear something and you go, "Oh, I should probably sit down with my good equipment and like actually dive into this." And that is immediately what hit me with this one. There was the mix in this record throughout was just astonishingly good to me. Everything is like super clean, super well spaced in the mix. It's just sometimes that sort of thing hits me on record where I'm like, it just blows me back. Like, wow, they put a lot of thought into like that production side of things. That said, the music did not disappoint with that much on it. I said it before. David brings in music that can be really, really heavy on really cool compositional tricks. And I think this shows well here, especially when you're getting into concept albums. You very much notice the ebb and flows, the highs and the lows of these musical swells that happen all the time. And I think the peaks really are well laid out in this. It just is really great. The one thing that was weird to me, and I can't put my finger on it, but the vocals throughout sounded like... I rolled with a lot of kids that were into like Christian rock when I was young, and it sounded like a band that I can't put my finger on that was in that like scene, and I can't fucking figure it out for the life of me. I've been trying for like the past like week or two, but it's like in that 1,000-foot crutch vein like era of stuff. If somebody can give me that, let me know. I don't know what Curly's laughing at. Curly's losing his damn mind.
Curly, your thoughts?
Curly, as you collect yourself, How would you describe this album musically?
There's something I just love about Drew so much. He shits on point, dude. I didn't listen to this album before, literally 40 minutes before starting this podcast. And I ran through it, and I just had like a running tally of notes. And I wrote Christian youth group. I wrote great drumming, great guitar, great ambiance. I would love to listen to when high. But I was like, then there's some later notes, and I'm like, some of the later tracks, and I was like, I'm not sure if this is or isn't Creed. Like,
it's a lot less Eddie Vedder than Creed.
There's and I don't want to blow. I don't know how too much other conversations we're gonna have, but like I there were so many points where I was just like, damn, I'm chilling out to this, and then there was a point where I was like, so I wrote this note: stop using lyrics. You don't need them. The music that they're making in a lot of these songs, I was like, this is really fucking great. I'm gonna jam to this. I'm gonna fucking lose my mind to this while playing other. And then they would be like, I'm gonna start singing 6 minutes into this this song. And I'm like, no, please don't anymore. Please don't.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool, but like it just for some reason reminded me of that. It was like just this weird out of body experience of like. There's something from that.
Someone's trying to sell you something.
I never come across that. There was definitely
guys. I can tell you that is literally the complete opposite of what John Mitchell is about.
Yeah,
like that is the complete opposite.
That, but like.
But it's I guess the tone of the voice is particular to certain styles.
Like I'm not.
I didn't quite catch it myself.
Church kids know a certain tone. Okay, we know.
I'll take the word of the folks that live that church life.
I guess I stopped going to church too young.
I would not have heard that.
Groomed for youth pastorship. Okay,
I would not have heard that in the churches I would have been going to.
I was a Sunday Catholic. And mostly my parents were Sunday Catholics.
The era was like I'm envisioning is after DC Talk and after like the Christian ska thing, but before you got into like the Emery and Showbread screamo phase.
Christian ska
of Christian rock.
Where does Angels and Airwaves fall in between this?
Angels and Airwaves wasn't a Christian band, were they?
Oh, honey.
I thought it was just Tom DeLonge and Aliens.
It is, but there's a lot of God in there.
Oh, well, I didn't know that. They were shitty, so I never listened to them.
I feel my melon.
Hey, I'm going to go on record. Unpopular opinion, Tom DeLonge was the worst part of Blink-182, and when they lost him, that record with Matt Skiba was fucking better.
Are we literally becoming Funhouse right now at this point? Yes. Like, do you want it to become like...
My melanin levels are fluctuating.
Oh, here, let's talk about Boxcar. Let's talk about... Like,
oh, God.
Boxcar
I don't want to be
terrible.
Which one of us is Bruce Green is what I'm trying to figure out. Let's talk about the this album is really cool. I think it does a lot of cool things. I didn't catch that Christian rock thing, but then I don't have that much experience. But I think the vocals were interesting in their way that they were delivered. It was very much like in line of like the progressive rock mentality. With not as much masturbation, in a sense, but still bombastic and still like showy, and the kind of like the, I guess I put in the notes bombastic and anthemic in a way, or as Kaz would put it, anthemy.
Yeah. Kpoppodcast.com.
Yes. And I think it does a lot of really cool things. It's like I will say there's moments where there's like I put it I know fantasy sound-alikes throughout. There's like Final Fantasy music throughout some of the different
That
tracks.
means keyboards.
Yes. Yes. And it's like, but I dug that part of it, and I think it added to the whole feel and added to the whole like space fantasy aspect of it, which I think works in its favor, and I think that's probably a reason why it has that connection. Even if it's not deliberate, it's probably just like, okay, this is a similar tone than one you would.
It's incredibly deliberate. Trust me,
okay.
It's incredible. He does the music videos in the astronaut suit.
Yeah. Well, I figured
it's incredible.
I don't know if it's a direct reference to Final Fantasy, more as like he's directly using a style that works to invoke like space fantasy and things like that. But yeah, Deej, let's talk about some of those key tracks. What would be some of the key tracks for you?
False Lights. False Lights has a mid-section instrumental that is piano-led that I just loved. It goes all the way into outer space, and I feel like I could just stay there and not come back and leave Earth to the rest of you plebs. Sigma. I feel like it's a solid rock single. It's not God vs. Man from the first Lonely Robot album, but it's pretty strong. It would fit in with anything else John Mitchell has ever done. Also, The Divine Art of Being, and I think this probably won't surprise anyone, has a bit of an 80s Genesis vibe, but in a good way, if you're okay with that kind of thing. Yeah. And I enjoyed hearing Mr. Mitchell sing. I enjoy his voice. And that was The Divine Art of Being. I think he really got to show off his voice on that one. And the title track. And I feel like that was a instrumental done right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't too all over the place. It wasn't too over the top. And it's something that you can sit down with the headphones or with some really good speakers and just enjoy.
Yeah. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
So, Awakenings. Starting with a lot of piano and a lot of vocal heavy stuff was definitely a choice that I enjoyed. Something with concept albums, like, you gotta start off like with a lot of like front loading that for me to like sort of get it all off the ground to let me know like, okay, where is this story and like where are we going, so I know like what I should be looking for in the music to key into that story, right? And then Everglow. Something about that like crunchy bass in Everglow just like was perfect for me. And like you said, The Divine Art of Being, somehow it sounded like an 80s ballad in the best possible way for me. As we'll see with my pick for next time.
Are you picking Genesis?
I'm not picking Genesis.
Because if you do, I'm totally okay with it. You can totally.
I'm not gonna lie. When you said '80s Genesis vibes, I didn't process the '80s, and I thought you meant Sega Genesis vibes.
I'm totally okay with that too.
East 99 Eternal and how they use their Eternal champions.
Nice Genesis vibes.
But yeah, go on.
Think about back in the day.
When he was in.
Hey, look, I don't know if you wonder what's blazing across my chest, but like I can talk about
99 Eternal.
Okay. But the swells and stuff in that song, the oozing style out of that track was just awesome.
Yeah. Curly, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Okay, so here's how it went for me. This is the second track album that I queued up for the Hangout with Petey and Friends, a preparatory hour I had before starting this actual podcast. I'm so happy that people brought it up. The Big Dream. The Big Dream is the first one. So I honestly I thought I clicked on like start the whole playlist for this album. I'm a big advent for listening to albums from first to last, kind of like in order, because I love like concept albums or whatever. But when I had clicked it and I walked away and I was trying to do air fryer shit in the kitchen, I was trying to listen to stuff. It just played The Big Dream first, and I was like, "Oh shit! Who picked this album? This album was amazing." I was like, "This is great! Like this is the greatest thing I've heard, and this is great. I love it. I love it. I love everything about it." So yeah, for me, that was easily the most influential track. I want to say that the other ones that I brought up in my list of things to talk about are the floral green. I'll say that spoke to me for a thing, but I'll talk about that in a moment, later, I guess. And then the final song, I think there's like a duet in the final song, but I don't know if that's like a bonus stuff or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. Floral Green. I did put it in my notes, 9 Inch Nails ballad. Because it kind of reminds me.
Do you want to know my notes right now?
Yeah.
Just like throw it out there. Okay, so my notes are I wrote these are the two things I wrote. All of a sudden mood swing, and then I wrote emotion creed attack.
Sure.
Yeah.
The feels.
We're
in space. We're in space, and sometimes in space there are feels.
There was a lot of feels, and there was a lot of like Christian rock feels, which is why I wrote Creed. It's just like that's my amalgam for that. Sorry.
Yeah. It starts off with like it being like one of the more like when that track on a 9 Inch Nails album that is just Trent on his piano with one finger, just
with
one finger
wide open.
It was like Trent Reznor on the piano, but only one finger, like doom, and then singing all melancholy, and like, but then it kind of goes into this more.
Sometimes you get sad in space.
Yeah, Sigma is a quality track. Hello World Goodbye was really cool. Like the whole "See You Again" was a cool thing. And the Big Dream is a nice instrumental. I did like the little moment. I forget which movie. Is it Nightmare on Elm Street that they took the music from, or no? What was it from? I gotta look it up. It was like the little piece that they took like from a horror movie. I know it was some kind, but it was like a cool little like moment.
Do you mean the Please Come Home Lonely Robot?
Well, maybe that one.
That was from the first album.
Yeah, like it was like there was like a part in there where they covered like a movie, like a horror movie, like
the part about like dying.
Yeah, there's like it's just it is in the instrumental. I'll look through it, but yeah, it's one of the tracks. But yeah, and I think a lot of it just works really well.
Hold on, sorry, Petey. Did anybody get like with like the whole Mars Curiosity rover dying like out in space, like feels at all? Like when you're listening to this?
Oh, the lonely Curiosity.
Kind of the point.
Like if it just for me, I was just like, what is this thing? Why is my having feels happening?
Hurley, that was the point.
Okay, so there.
It's in space.
Okay, I get. Okay, cool. I didn't know when this came out. I was last minute.
Yeah, but yeah,
the Mars rover and Reggie Fils-Aimé within the same allotment of time. Like
Reggie's dying out on Mars slowly, devoid of
he's returning to his home planet. That's what he's returning to his home planet.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
I know this.
My body was
show.
not ready.
This isn't this show. I know that, but seriously, I always pictured Reggie literally was just like Bowser in human cosplay. Okay.
Yes. But they replaced him with Bowser, though.
But now a new man named literally Doug Bowser is going to take over. It's like the biggest joke. I want a cartoon version of Bowser in a human cosplay to walk up and just be like, I'm Doug Bowser, the new CEO of Nintendo.
But yeah, that's that is a great moment. But that being said,
fuck 'em.
Before we get in, fuck 'em. Yes, that's the important thing right there. As Reggie Fils-Aimé walks out the door, his final words were, "Fuck 'em." All right, let's get down to our conclusive thoughts. Bring it back around the horn. Drew, what would be your conclusive thoughts on this album?
It was fantastic. Everything about this record was like really spot on for me. It was something that, like I said, I'd never heard of this dude. And now I'm interested in more of what this dude does, because obviously he is very smart at the music making part of things, and I'm very interested in more of it, whether it be on the production side or on the 6-string samurai side. Either way, I am down to hear more from this dude. I want the trilogy finished. I want a movie, like rock
6
opera or
albums
something.
in a movie.
Something. Like it's fantastic, and it's something that, like,
Yeah.
there's going to be that record where, like, this is sometimes I feel like some of the albums we just got to put out there and be like, yo, this is like a heady ass fucking record, and of the 5 people that listen to our podcast, like, this one's for Squiggles. Like, this is just like,
I got you, Squiggles. Squiggles.
Squiggles.
It's DJM. It's DJM. I got you.
we got
I
you.
got you.
Sometimes we're gonna get some fucking music ass musicians making music and shit, and like this
Yes.
is what that record is, and I'm super down.
Yes. Also, I keep forgetting, but we do need to put Squiggles down in this chair. Pretty soon. Yes. I've declared it. Curly, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I kind of blew my load a little bit on that one, but yeah, no, I definitely went with all right, so I will say some bad things about this the album. Drumming, guitar, music, all of it shit was great. The only thing I had against it was that some of the maybe because I started with Big Dream, which was an instrumental track, like it was 8 minutes of instrumental like stuff. And then the rest of it, like, all of a sudden there was lyrics, and I just didn't find any of the lyrics useful to the amazing soundscape that was happening. Like, okay, hold on, DJ, I'm making a fucking face. I can't. But yeah, no, I really genuinely enjoyed the hell out of it. But yeah, that was my only like complaint. I had a fantastic time with pretty much everything. I mean, like, I was like, some of the drumming at the beginning and stuff was like very like Rush level, like just crazy drums and crazy awesome time.
That is Mr. Craig Blundell, also of the band Frost, and he also tours with Steven Wilson of Porcupine.
So it wasn't Neil Peart, was it? Like
no, but he's that guy today.
Okay,
Craig Blundell
God.
is his name.
That was the first thing I wrote down was just like drums. Holy fuck, help! Like,
Craig Blundell is his name. Craig Blundell. Look him up.
That's so awesome. So
he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal.
That's what I'll take away from it is the drummer was fucking bananas.
Craig Blundell.
Yes. This album is
Bananas wouldn't be good at the drums.
Bananas are terrible for drums.
Yes. Just makes
from an audio engineer to the other.
Yes.
Don't
Unless
use
they're
bananas.
Frozen bananas. It's like
not even then. They're still terrible. Still, you would think, but no, they're terrible still after they're frozen.
Yes. But yeah, that being said, this album is really cool and really fun and really kind of like it has so much like epicness and so much like bombast. Like I said, bombast. Like it works on
antheminess.
Antheminess. It kind of has a really cool like through line throughout the whole album that keeps it cohesive, but it is diverse still in its moments. It has like different, it doesn't plateau that much or at all, and it kind of does have some really nice peaks. The guitar work is really cool. The drum work is really tight. The the like John Mitchell just like playing all these like instruments left and right. Granted, hopefully not simultaneously, but that would be hilarious.
He's not that good. He's not that good. He's pretty good. But he's not.
He only has 2 arms.
Cloning machines. Let me tell you about them. They're great.
Yes. But it works on so many levels, and it's super tight, super fun. But yeah, David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
When this album first came out, I had to give it a couple of listens because it did not quite hit me the same way the first Lonely Robot album did. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with giving an album some time to sink and settle in. And when it did, I best described it as it's like a Pink Floyd album with a bit more of a punch. It'll give you a little bit more of a harder edge than a regular Pink Floyd album. It's got a bit more of a punch, and the story is a bit blue, but that's what you get with prog rock. It's kind of the thing. It's the brand. Fucking deal with it.
Yes.
And I love it. That's kind of what I love about it. And honestly, I'm ready for the third album. I enjoyed it. I'm ready for the third album.
Yes.
Can I say, like, as far as the drummer's concerned, having gone to this Craig Blundell's website, a dude is a musician-ass musician if he's sponsored by the best drum head maker, Focusrite preamps, and Sennheiser. Like, those are your sponsorships. It's like, okay, this dude is good at what he does.
Yes. Yes.
You know what? I've actually never heard of Focusrite.
Yeah.
In the audio world, Focusrite makes some of the best
I was
preamps.
joking. I'm sorry.
Look, drunky.
It was a goof. It wasn't that good of a goof. You can't tell my goofs.
Duh.
All right, Stephen A., calm it down.
But yeah, this is a
Baraka Banaka. Let's go.
Stop.
Baraka Banaka. This
Petey, stop losing your shit. Play us out.
I'm trying to figure out the syllable count. You're gonna have to take off a syllable or add a syllable to fit in the haiku. That being said, those are our thoughts on the Lonely Robot, not the Lonely Robot, but it is the Big Dream. Now we get to our main events of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews, where we sum it all up in poetic form. It's gonna be interesting. Drew, what is your haiku?
Going to go back and decipher some lyrics. Enjoyed what I got.
Yes. Curly, what is your haiku?
I'm so sorry I wrote this before we had this discussion because I feel better after. All right, sorry. Haiku. I love bleep bloop art. Just stick to what you know, man. Wink wink. Stop singing.
My haiku. Big progressive tunes. John Mitchell has some chops. John Mitchell has got some chops. One of those is correct. And flair for drama.
Stay off the weed.
Stay off the hoopinha for me. I gotta stay off the hoopinha. Deej, what is your haiku?
Atmospheric prog. Give Lonely Robot a shot. At me if you do.
Yes, there you go.
Damn!
Bam! Mic drop. Those are our thoughts on Lonely Robots, The Big Dream. You can, of course, find it on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. Follow along, do your homework. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and that will be provided by Drucifer. Drew, what do you got for us next week?
So, I found this band recently. They're a younger band formed in 2014, so they haven't been around long. One album, a group from Manchester, England, known as Pale Waves. Again, their only album, their debut full length, My Mind Makes Noises.
Nice. So
I like
look
it.
forward to that discussion. But that will be next week, and this is this week. You can of course find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Drew is at XDrewSurferX. Curly is at Curly or DKGTV.com as well. I'm at PD Rave. I was going to say PD is at PD Rave. PD is at PD Rave. The show
PD is in fact a PD Rave.
In fact,
Off the
weed.
What
the
is
show-
in that? What is in that hoopena?
I don't know. The show is the 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com if you want to give us feedback. Rebelli.net for this on other shows. Rebelli TV on YouTube. You can find us everywhere where you find podcasts. Subscribe, like, share, do all the things. Hit that bell.
Unsubscribe and resubscribe.
Give us some
No.
reviews. The
Give
5
PD a
stars.
5-star.
3 ain't enough. I need 5 stars.
Give us a perfect 10.
So 2 reviews of 5 stars.
Make a new account, subscribe, and give another
Sure.
5.
But that being said, until next time, hasta los suelos.
For God's sakes, people, we got Curly to do these episodes.
I think that's illegal.
Give the podcast some respect.
Respect.
Stay off the weed.
I'm the only one who's high.
I'm
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I'm very high.